Hello, my name is Tommy Pigott. Welcome to this week's Republican Rundown. This week we're going to be talking about a tradition in American politics that spans back many decades, and that's the presidential debates. Now, President Trump has said he will debate Joe Biden anytime, anywhere. Yet Joe Biden is running scared. Joe Biden is refusing so far to commit to any debates. And it's not hard to see why. The entire Biden campaign is about protecting Joe Biden from any questions, really any unscripted interaction. Take a look at this recent trip to Wawa as an example, where the campaign literally staged every single aspect of it, down to the cashier's tip.
And again, it doesn't matter who. David? You're going to do the hand. All right? David, he's going to give you a tip to mistake. And what you got are names what you got are Social, all right? Of course. Regular, whatever, you know.
I need somebody to bring me a yogurt. Give me a yogurt. Doesn't matter which one.
Hey,
Hello, sir. How you doing today?
good. How you doing, man?
And yet, even with all that work, all that staging that went into that quote-unquote event, Joe Biden still managed to embarrass himself. Let's fast forward a few minutes to when Joe Biden actually arrives at the Wawa and interacts with people there.
Mr. President, I'm going to pick up a few pounds here.
And don't forget, we also included drinks for you as well, just to enjoy.
Excellent.
We can take that one.
You take that box?
Yeah, you in the
I'm
middle.
going to go order a
Okay.
milkshake.
Yeah.
Keep the president.
I'm right. I'm just going to order a milkshake.
Yes, we'll be right back.
I thought you did it right there.
I think they want to do it over here.
Joe Biden struggles to close a takeout box. He gets lost in a Wawa. There's nobody there to protect Joe Biden from any unscripted interactions. The entire thing is entirely staged. So it's not hard to see why the campaign is terrified of debates when they're afraid of Joe Biden even going to a Wawa. And this terrified nature of this campaign, this complete effort to stage every single event and protect Joe Biden from any questions, extends to questions from the media. When Joe Biden goes on quote-unquote campaign events, his handlers are determined to protect him from any questions. Here's a recent example of when Joe Biden said he wanted to take some questions and the reaction from Biden's handlers in his campaign.
We're going to take a few questions.
Thank you, press.
Thank you
so much.
Back in the vehicles. Back to the cars. Thank you. Back to the cars. We're happy to walk both vehicles are this way. Thank you. All good, all good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We gotta go.
You can almost hear the panic in their voices when they jump on rushing the press out of the vicinity as soon as Joe Biden says he wants to take some questions. That's the fear that the campaign has because they know every single time Biden goes out in public, every single time he opens his mouth, he embarrasses himself and the country. Now imagine that on a debate stage with millions of people watching, and it's not hard to see why the campaign is terrified. Now this staging extends to press conferences as well. Joe Biden has done fewer press conferences than any of his modern predecessors. And when he does do press conferences, the entire thing is staged. There is literally a pre-approved list of reporters for Joe Biden to call on. Here's a recent example of that.
And now I'm happy to take some questions, and I'm told I should start with AP Zeke Miller. Zeke, you have a question? Didn't recognize you with the mask on. I apologize.
I'm told I should call on this reporter. That's the level of control and staging Biden's handlers are trying to force on every single time Biden goes out in public. And it's not just a one-off instance. Here's another example of Biden calling on a pre-approved list of reporters.
Mr. President?
No, the question was for the president. And
Mr. President, do you want to call on the next question?
Sure. I was given a list here. Steve Holland of Reuters.
Even with that pre-approved list, he is still confused. Even when everything's handed to him, he still manages to embarrass himself and the country. The level of staging goes so far as to telling Joe Biden to take his seat. Here's an image of a note card given to Biden before an event. You can see on this image, it says, "Take your seat." You in capital letters, take your in capital letters, seat. This level of staging is mortifying for the country, and again, it shows the fear that the Biden White House and the Biden campaign have of any unscripted events with Joe Biden. They know he's going to embarrass himself, and again, the country, every single time he opens his mouth. This again extends to those press conferences, not just with pre-approved lists of reporters, but there's evidence that the questions are given to Joe Biden in advance. Here's an image recently showing the picture of the reporter, showing the name of the reporter, and also showing the question that the reporter is going to ask. Biden is literally handed everything in advance, and again, he still embarrasses himself. And the reason why the White House and the campaign would want these questions in advance is obvious, because they can stage the answers. They can give Biden a binder with an answer he can read verbatim. Here's a recent image from an event. If you look at Joe Biden's sunglasses in here, you can see the entire written answer before him, and he reads this answer verbatim when he's asked the question. The problem for Joe Biden is he often even struggles to read from a binder or a teleprompter and still says things by mistake or has to go back and correct himself. Looking at the White House transcripts of events, the number of corrections, crossouts, markings is astonishing, showing that even when everything is handed to Joe Biden, he still messes up. Now, what happens in the few unscripted moments, or the few times Joe Biden does take questions that aren't handed to him, Biden makes grievous errors. Here's a recent example of Joe Biden confusing the president of Egypt and the president of Mexico.
The conduct of the response in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side.
Now, these unscripted moments show why Joe Biden can't be trusted in the Oval Office. This extends beyond the debates. This goes to issues of national importance, where every single word matters. Joe Biden is making fundamental, basic errors. The world is laughing at us under Joe Biden because Joe Biden can't even remember basic facts, even when he's briefed on it constantly. He goes out there and embarrasses himself. He goes out there and makes these basic mistakes. Now, it's beyond these basic mistakes as well. Joe Biden is showing serious signs of being diminished compared to his past. The American people see it. In fact, 80% of Americans have concerns about Biden's mental fitness for office, including a majority of Democrats. And it's not hard to see why. Joe Biden has been a chronic liar his entire political career. But when you mesh that together with his current state, you get bizarre stories like this.
Back when D-Day occurred, and on Sunday, the next day, my mother's 4 brothers all went down to the recruiting station and joined the military. Every one of them volunteered. And my uncle, they called him Ambrose Brosey, they called him Bozy. My Uncle Bozy was a hell of an athlete, they tell me, when he was a kid. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. He got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
First of all, Sunday was not the next day. And second of all, Biden's uncle was not eaten by cannibals. Now, the Biden campaign could put to rest all these concerns about his mental fitness if they agreed to more interviews or more press conferences. Again, Biden has done fewer interviews and fewer press conferences than any of his modern predecessors. The fact that they're not, the fact that they are continuing to stage every single part of every single event, every single time Biden goes out in public, shows that they share these concerns about his mental fitness, shows that they're terrified of what Biden might say in an unscripted event. Now add this all together with Biden's hypocrisy. Biden came into office promising to be the most transparent president in modern political history. Instead, we have the least transparent president who is afraid of any unscripted question. Now tying this back into the debates. The debates are an American tradition spanning back decades because Americans get to see for themselves both candidates on that stage and get to judge for themselves who they want to be president. It's clear the Biden campaign is terrified of those debates because they can't stage them. Now, it's not just Republicans in the RNC that are calling for these debates. The news agencies have also called for more debates and earlier debates because they know that's what the American people deserve. If Biden wants to spend his time on retirement, wants to spend his time on vacation, wants to spend his time avoiding questions, he should not be president of the United States. The position of president is too important for Joe Biden to be avoiding any unscripted questions at every single opportunity. We need a president that's not afraid to take questions, that's not afraid to answer to the American people. Joe Biden is showing he is unfit to be president by the mere fact that he is staging every single thing that he does. If Biden wants to be on retirement, he should be on retirement. This has been the Republican Rundown. Tune in next week for more.